So, it's around this time of year that you might start seeing adverts or leaflets for racing scholarship competitions pop up here and there. And as a sim racer with hopes and dreams of racing for real, you could see it as an opportunity to convert your skill into a victory and make that dream come true. But is it what it seems, and what should you expect from such a competition if you only know sim racing? In a nutshell, I personally believe that the chances of a sim racer winning a racing scholarship competition are very, very slim, but there is good explanation for that. I don't know of a competition being won by a sim racer unless it's been specifically targeted towards them, such as Gran Turismo's GT Academy. Traditional racing scholarships, like it or not, give little credit to sim racing successes. And it's that which I want to emphasise, so that your entry into a racing scholarship competition isn't founded upon the belief that your sim racing credentials will count in a big way. I noticed that there have been some incredibly fast sim racing names enter scholarships in the past and maybe didn't make the final, so this is not without precedent either. It's just a fact that real racing and sim racing are two different disciplines. And sim racing has always been overshadowed by the real thing, and that's not without justification. As we've all seen during these virtual races in this year, 2020, sometimes people who excel in real cars, F1 champions, have difficulty adjusting to sims, and it works the other way around too. So just look at how Alonso fared in his first few R-Factor 2 races until he had time to adjust and get used to it. There is a very real skill set gap between the two, which we all forget about. The biggest mistake that you can make, that I also previously made, is believing that your lack of real world experience will be a positive when viewed in the context of your performance. So lack of experience is something that we sim racers may be tempted to wear as a badge of honour when entering competitions like these, because we're really capable in the virtual world, and you start to make the mistake of thinking that the motorsport community will be impressed by that, whereas your outright ability in the car will be all that matters when push comes to shove. So whether you're driving a race car for the first time or not, it's all about how good you really, really are, whether or not it's the first time you're doing it or you've been in a race car before. It won't matter, really speaking. So the reality is that if you were to take two people that perform exactly the same in the scholarship, so one of the people has managed to get out on track in a real racing event, maybe they've got a little bit of sponsorship, maybe they've scraped some funding together, but they've got out on track on a real event maybe once or twice, and the other has only stuck to sim racing. So they've both done exactly the same in terms of performance on track. They've both got the same fitness, same everything, but the backstory is they've been on track in a real event before, this one hasn't. This is only sim racing. Really speaking, if you're a judge on a judging panel, there is no justification for picking the dedicated sim racer over somebody who has actually got real world racing experience. Be honest with yourself, there's no justification for picking that person. Even I would be up in arms about it. I'd be thinking, these guys are the same. Why would you pick this guy who's only been, doing it from his bedroom all his life, whereas this guy's really, put his back into it, got sponsorship, got out on track. And that's me being self-aware here, because I'm this guy. Why should I be picked over this person? So I am being self-aware when I say that. It's just a fact. And if we're honest with ourselves, almost anyone can save up and muster a few grand together if their life depended on it, by working your socks off, living out of the boot of a car and only eating rice cakes. But it's usually incompatible with life's other needs, and the sacrifice is sometimes too much without financial backing from outside. But if there's somebody out there who has made the sacrifice and have given up a lot to get out on track, and they're at the racing scholarship and they perform the same as you, you can't really blame the judges for picking that guy over you. So there is that element as well. If you haven't made it out on track in the real world, then don't expect your lack of experience to count for you. It's a mistake that we can make. I made it and reflected on it since. So having said all that, if you are a sim racer that's entering or thinking of entering a racing scholarship competition, I strongly urge you to recognise that the sim racing is merely a side note, and focus on any real world accomplishments that you could gain or have had in the past, as they will count for a lot more when you're sitting down in front of the people making the decisions. Based on my experience, it is a mistake to hold up your sim racer status as your defining feature, as the people making the decision will almost certainly hold little regard for virtual racing and will place far more value on anything real you have done. It's harsh, but it is the truth, and knowing this before you go will give you a chance to really work on your other attributes and focus on them much more. And to explain why I'm even making this video, to explain why I feel like chipping in on this for the benefit of sim racers like myself, is because I've entered 2 racing scholarships in the past. One in 2012 where I made the final, and then earlier this year in 2020 where I didn't get past the first round. In both competitions I had not yet had any real world racing experience, and I still don't now at time of recording. Besides track days and basic karting, not even, Club 100 karting or anything like that. I just had no real world credentials to speak of. I may be mainly all about sim racing, but I am no stranger to track days, auto solo events and things like that. I've done quite a few of those, so it's not as if I've never had experience on track, driving a car at the ragged edge for real. I have, but it's just not been racing. The success I had in 2012, where I made it to the final, I think was a lot down to the fact that at the time I drove a Mark 1 MX-5, and the test car was a Mark 1 MX-5 in that scholarship. It was a race spec MX-5 because it was for the MX-5 championship that year. That was the scholarship prize, so I think I had a bit of an advantage owing to that. That overcame my shortcomings as to not being on track before. So I had that real world experience of that car in 2012, whereas 2020 definitely didn't. The car was a 300 horsepower front wheel drive track VW Golf on slicks, really far removed, and it's something that you don't forget once you've done it. It really opens your eyes to it, but because I hadn't got experience of it, I didn't really know what to expect. Didn't do as well as I hoped I would, but that's normal, that's fine. Having said all this, as a sim racer, it's definitely not a waste of time entering a racing scholarship competition, because there's a lot that you'll get out of a day, even if it doesn't come to anything. I don't regret entering either competition, even though I'll never get that entry fee back, because I had fun on those days, and there isn't an experience like it that you can get. It's not like an experience day where you just shoved into a car, drive around at 50 mile an hour and get a certificate at the end. It's there's no sugar coated, no mollycoddling, nothing like that. Your abilities are put under the spotlight in an honest way, and that is a good experience for anyone who truly believes that they could have been a racing driver given different circumstances. If that's correct, then the scholarship will bring it out of you. If you go to a scholarship with as much preparation as possible, with a mindset of absorbing the experience and leaving with renewed inspiration and a story to tell and to reflect upon, you will find great value in it. If you go in banking on winning, you're setting yourself up for failure a little bit. It could happen, but you have to be truly exceptional. They can only give that spot to one person, and you need to make sure that you can justify why that should be you. And 100 people may enter, 1 wins. There's a lot of people that are going to be feeling the same way if they don't get through. So this video is a dose of tough love for sim racers, as I think if you know more about what you're up against, then you've got better chances of doing well. Ignorance is not bliss when it comes to this. You need to know what you're getting into, and to know what hill you've got to climb. It will be a challenge, but if you know there's going to be a challenge, you can brace yourself for it. The last thing I'd want to see is one of you guys putting down hard-earned money that maybe you can ill afford to enter these competitions without having reflected on and come to terms with what you'll be confronted with, and then having your dreams dashed because you went in maybe a little bit over optimistic and not aware of what's going to be there when you turn up. So everyone who turns up to a scholarship competition believes strongly that they have the stones to race for real, and the prize can only go to one person, and that person usually has real world racing experience to some degree. Even if it's just one event, they have something under their belt to say that they've actually tried it and done it and made the effort to get out there, and it's something really important to confront if you've only done sim racing. And with such passion and emotion attached to this sport of ours, it's totally understandable that even if you try your absolute best and you go and it doesn't come to anything, totally understandable to feel pained if you shoot and you miss. But that's all part of it. You'd be a bit weird if you didn't feel a bit of, a punch to the gut if you don't get through the first round or whatever. It's natural. But somebody has to be cut off of that first round, and if it's you, then you tried, and you can try again with more experience and having reflected on the whole thing. So finally, if you do enter a scholarship and you only have sim racing experience, still try your absolute best, and remember that preparation will be your best weapon. Preparation can overcome a lot of shortcomings that you may have over people who are maybe going there with a tiny bit of experience, or even quite a bit of experience. It's open to all, really. So be aware that you may be given less credit if you have no racing experience compared to someone who has even just one event in their history. So if you enter a scholarship without having any real racing experience, then the odds are against you, even if you happen to be an absolute demon. It's just a fact of life. But for those of you who do proceed to enter, and I still recommend you do, I will be following up this video with information about what goes into a typical scholarship competition, what to expect. So if you want to know what I think you can do to prepare and give yourself the absolute best shot for the win, go check it out. Remember, these are my opinions, and as a 2-time scholarship entrant and non-winner, I think these are just anecdotes. I've never been on a scholarship judging panel. There may be more to it than I have touched on in this video, but the core of the message is there. Just don't be overconfident. Don't put too much importance on your sim racing status, because it doesn't count for a lot in these competitions. Your ability, your personality, and your general all-rounded racing driver credentials will count for a lot more. And it's just something to think about before you go, so that you have time to galvanise yourself and focus on what will really matter when you're sat down in front of the guys doing the decisions. So a couple of days after this video, I'm going to be making that video, so check it out in my other videos. Give this account a subscribe if you can, because it will really help me. We want to get to 1,000 subscribers, and that will pave the way to many more things from me. Check out my other videos as well if you're a sim racer. They've got bits and bobs, tidbits of information that you might find helpful. And thank you very much for watching. Remember, check out my other videos, leave a subscribe if you can, it would be really helpful, and have a nice day.